a business with very consistent cash flow where it's obvious that they're making money and, are probably in that point where they're trying to attract the good talent and keep people around. And so those two components right there typically mean, it's time for some sort of benefits. If it's not health insurance and everything else, or if that's already taken care of, what's the next step? And we tend to be the next step down the road is the retirement plan side.
You're listening to The Successful Bookkeeper with your host, Michael Palmer. Listen each week as inspiring guests share their secrets of success to help you increase your confidence, work smarter, and build a business you love. This episode of The Successful Bookkeeper is brought to you by PureBookkeeping.com, the proven system to grow your bookkeeping business.
Welcome back to the Successful Bookkeeper Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Palmer, and today's show is going to be a good one. Our guest is the founder and chief planologist of Retirement Planology. Did I get that right? I hope so.
You totally did, yeah.
She is a consulting and registered investment advisory firm for corporate-sponsored retirement plans. Courtenay Shipley, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Well, it's great to have you. And now we're going to get into this a bit, and I'd love to hear your career journey and to help us understand what planologist really is. I think it's the first time I've heard that. It sounds interesting, but Courtenay, tell us a little bit about you, your career journey leading up to this point.
Sure. My background's a little different. I was a music major in college, and when I graduated, I needed a job, and I did not want to move back in with my parents. So I found myself selling insurance and also retirement plans, and I really liked the retirement plan side of things. The insurance, maybe not as much. So I found a way to continue my career, first working for a brokerage firm, and then off to a small third-party administrator, a large, Fortune 1000 record keeper. So I've just been on that side of the business pretty much my entire career. So yeah, it's super fun to help people save for retirement. I know it sounds lame, but it really is.
I would think the people that want to have a good retirement, probably it sounds pretty exciting. And I would imagine it crosses our listeners' minds time to time. So what is having a retirement, like why is it so important to plan for this? I mean, it almost sounds like a trick question about planning for retirement, but from a business owner's perspective, maybe let's talk a little bit about that.
Sure. So as a business owner, you have several different ways that you can build wealth. One of which, of course, is your business. You may want to sell that someday. And so you may be trying to grow your business in such a way that you can step out of it, and then it's an asset that you can sell later in life. You may also be trying to save money, which is what most Americans are doing, is that they want to save part of their pay now over a long period of time in order to have money for later, when they don't want to have to show up at work to get that paycheck anymore, but they'd rather make it their own paycheck. So there's lots of different things to be thinking about here is, how are you going to wisely spend your money? So is it going to be more on the first thing I just talked about or the second thing, right? Your own assets. And then making sure that you've got the future in mind. Because a lot of people say, retirement, that's for old people. I don't need to be thinking about that now. But it's just good cash flow management. It's good financial planning to be thinking not only about what am I spending my money on today as a business owner, how am I constructing my business today, but also what does this look like in 5, 10, 20 years from now?
Mm-hmm. And I imagine you've worked with lots of business owners. I think over the years, I would think that possibly a hybrid model of building I think that could be something to think about as well, as what you've got your business, you're growing your business, but as well having some sort of plan around saving and allotting money to your retirement along the way. What would be your thoughts around that?
Yeah, that's 100% the case. Also, as you're growing your business, you need employees, right? And in order for employees to want to work for you, you have to offer them some sort of benefit. And that's where the corporate sponsored retirement plan usually comes in, is helping to attract and retain those quality employees that will be working for you, hopefully for a long time, but that can help them stick around. It's also a way to take some of your profits and put them aside in a tax favorable situation, also a way to reward those same employees and let them have a part in helping to grow the business and sharing in the profits as well. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, let's maybe talk a little bit about that, because that's the other side of it, is you're actually helping your own employees and staff plan for their retirement. What do typical plans, like, we're our listener, our small business owners, they might have 1, 2 staff, maybe more, varies, but they would be considered, in the grand scheme of thing, they would be considered micro businesses. What is and I would say many of them don't offer benefits, right? And so that many do, like I've had guests on the show that's a key piece of their strategy around, attracting and retaining talent. But what is a plan if they're not doing it? What does it sort of look like to start thinking about this, and some options that they might want to be considering around putting together a plan that includes retirement benefits for their staff?
So we all know we work closely with our accounting friends, right? And so if your accountant has said, hey, you should be thinking about putting some of this aside so that you don't have to pay taxes on it, that is like your number one flare going up that says, hey, it's time to set up a retirement plan. And the way that these work is that what you do for yourself, generally you have to do for your employees. But there's kind of a graduated tier of how plans get put together. So you can start off with just a regular individual retirement account. You could graduate up to a SEP IRA or a simple IRA. And then after that, that's when maybe you want some fancier plan designs. Maybe you don't want to have to cover, certain subsets of employees, typically are larger at this point, or maybe you just want to put a lot more money away. And that's where the 401k plan comes in. So we always encourage folks just to start with the bottom tier, start saving in an individual retirement account, unless your accountant is giving you guidance of, hey, you've got some good money to set aside here. And there's a better way to do it, a more efficient way for taxes.
Got it. And then how is that from you mentioned that if you do it for yourself, you need to do it for your employees. Is that something that is recommended, or is it the law? Like if you have your own, if a company has their own plan, what does that look like?
Sure. So on the smaller plans that I just mentioned a second ago, like the SEP IRA, whatever you put in your own account, you also have to put in your employees' accounts as well. With the simple IRA, that's where they can contribute money. You have to make an employer contribution of some sort, but it's small. And so in the sense you're giving yourself that match too. And then when you move into 401k territory, that's where we've got another piece that comes in that's called non-discrimination testing. And so it's making sure that the ownership of the company and the highly paid people are not benefiting fundamentally more from the plan than the lower paid people are. So we're getting kind of down in the weeds here, but just keep in mind that when you do profit sharing, or if you want to give everybody a contribution in general, you need to give everybody about the same amount. There's some exceptions to that, but generally speaking, the reason is the IRS says, if you reward others, then you reward yourself too.
We'll get back to the interview right after this word from our sponsor.
Accountants and bookkeepers trust Payworks to get it right. Why? Well, the math just adds up. Friendly, expert-level service plus a surprisingly affordable Canadian-built payroll platform equals reliable results and a strong foundation for success. You can count on Payworks the way your clients count on you. In fact, more than 98% of clients who choose Payworks choose to stay. There are plenty more reasons why Payworks is right for you. Visit payworks.ca today.
Thank you for hearing from our sponsor. Now let's get back to the interview. Interesting. I mean, it's interesting to think about. Our listener loves the weeds, so we're okay here.
Yeah.
Especially around things like this. And so now, if you have one of these plans where you're starting to make contributions, I think that, obviously the first one is, hey, I'm just going to start saving for myself in my own personal retirement fund.
Mm-hmm.
That's my own personal business. But now, as an organization, as an entity, that
Mhm.
there would be some probably tax benefits for making this. Hey, okay, here's a program. You're a staff member. You can make contributions, and we're going to make a small contribution as well, which would be a benefit. So that's like the sort of the start of the benefits. And does that then have a better tax advantage to those business owners?
Absolutely. So you're not paying payroll taxes on that money. You're also able to put any employer contributions aside as pre-tax as well. So there's some good savings.
There's
Obviously,
some
your accountant
benefits
is going
there
to have some more information about how much, but generally, think about the rate you're taxed at.
for sure. And that's now a tax conversation, and you'd want to do that with your accountant. But
Yes.
if your accountant's not having these conversations, then you want to find a new one
Yep,
and make sure you have a good tax planning accountant.
you
What
got
are
it.
the big mistakes business owners would make when it comes to retirement planning?
I would say that a lot of times businesses are just trying very hard to get something in place. And so there's only thinking about today rather than thinking about how this plan could evolve for the future, or having a good idea going into it of when you've outgrown the current situation. And so working with somebody who is a financial advisor or someone who specializes in retirement plans like we are. I think you asked earlier, what is a retirement planology? Or what is a planologist? We're just a subset of financial advisor that only focuses on corporate sponsored retirement plans. So working with a specialist that can help you think about, all right, what does your business look like right this minute? And then what is it going to look like in the next 12 months, the next however long? And how long will this particular type of plan or these provisions that you've set up for this plan, how long is that going to be a good fit for you? And when will we know it's not? So I think that's the biggest mistake, is just saying, oh, all right, I need a 401k plan. Quick, sign up for this, without much thought about how it should be constructed to meet the needs not only of the business owner but then also of the employees.
Very interesting. That's and so you would be going in a lot deeper to understand how to maximize the effectiveness of this plan for each business and their unique situations.
You got it. Yep. When we work
That's
with
very
with
interesting.
companies, our first thing is what's the purpose of this plan, right? What is this plan supposed to do?
And so would you get your referrals from accountants, tax accountants, or how do people find out about you for something like that? Like it sounds very advantageous because now you're maximizing on the plan, but it sounds like it might be something that people wouldn't even know about.
Generally speaking, we get referred in sometimes by bookkeepers, quite frankly, also by outsourced HR or a fractional CFO. Those are most commonly where we are brought in. Occasionally, it's going to come from an accountant or specific type of corporate or benefits attorney. But yeah.
Got it. Got it. And so, because our listener is definitely sees both sides of the coin here when it comes to, it's a great pun for this industry, both sides of the coin.
Well done.
They really do. They see both sides of it. I think it's the first time I've used it. It might be heard again. Future listener, beware. Be both sides of the coin. So they see the inner workings. No one understands the finances and what's going on in the business better than a bookkeeper
Mhm.
that's working on a firm's accounts. And then they also see, hey, what's happening, where all that information is going, handing it off to the accountant, and conversations that happen. So they would be having a fantastic opportunity to advise and alert business owners as to when this might be advantageous, that they might want to be thinking about it as a value added service that they could be providing to drive different conversations and value to their customer. What should they be looking for in this area?
There are a few things. One is from an operational standpoint. Are they noticing that there's lots of problems popping up around the retirement plan? Since they do see the ins and outs, why is their money not going consistently to the retirement plan, or spotting that contributions haven't been made on time or something along those lines? That's a big red flag, because that means the operations are also broken behind the scenes somehow. And there's probably some better things that could happen that would be more streamlined. The other thing is just a business with very consistent cash flow where it's obvious that they're making money and, are probably in that point where they're trying to attract the good talent and keep people around. And so those two components right there typically mean, it's time for some sort of benefits. If it's not health insurance and everything else, or if that's already taken care of, what's the next step? And we tend to be the next step down the road is the retirement plan side.
Got it. Yeah, I can see that. So it's you're paying too much tax. You want to retain staff. These are great reasons to look deeper at this. And then also from a compliance standpoint, hey, you haven't set up your systems and process to fully allocate the funds needed to make this happen. And I would say that's a big one. Thinking of profit first, it's a big component of what Profit First talks about. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Profit First.
Yes, very familiar.
Very familiar. So this would be a fantastic setup for Profit First, because you're working closely with them to say, okay, what does the owner want to accomplish? What do we need to have? And then making sure that the allocations for that are happening and consistent. And that's where a bookkeeper is in a perfect role to develop that. And the value of it is incredible for a business owner. It's as someone who is really helping them understand how the flow of money happens, where to put all that money, making sure that it is available, but then making sure that it happens, almost like an accountability scenario for a smaller firm. Obviously, when there's bigger firms have tighter controls and systems in place that might flow a little bit easier, but in a medium-sized, small, micro, medium, you would be looking at, hey, this money coming in, we need this money for this thing, we need this money for that thing. It's like, no, we need to have the money going to where the money, we've set a plan for where that money is going to go and stick to the plan. If you don't stick to the plan, you don't get the results, right?
Right.
And I can see that you would fit in very well with that in being able to then take those allocations and make magic happen, right?
Yes.
So when the work that you do, what is the essentials of a great retirement plan?
I would say it's one where the employees appreciate the plan because as the owner, you are spending so much time and energy on trying to get things right behind the scenes. So seeing one that's being used well and that employees actually like, that's a good mark of success right there. The second is that it's achieving the goals that the business owner has laid out. Maybe that's benefiting themselves and making sure they're on track for their retirement someday, or maybe it's because they want to give back to the employees in a tax efficient way. Maybe it's, fill in the blank, right? So making sure that the plan is meeting the needs that the owner has set out or the business has set out. And the last piece I would say is that it matches up with the demographics at the firm and the culture. So a lot of our clients, I would say 95% of our clients, really appreciate the fact that we will talk to the employees and we will help them make wise decisions about their retirement plan to make sure that they understand and appreciate the plan, and also that they have an eye for the future on how are they going to have the luxury of deciding how they spend their time later in life, right? And so that financial education component is especially important, that people are making good decisions and they understand what they're doing, and also have a place to go where they can bounce ideas around.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's one of those things where it taps into the vision of the business. It's like vision is not just about, you could want to get, you could have a vision for your business to say, I want to get to $50 million and whatever. And that's going to give the owner would have some form of vision. I want to impact the industry. I want to be innovative, all these different components that go into it. But in order to get there, you need great people. And so thinking about what do they need and incorporating into that, this is a great place, because I would say in many small businesses, the people working for those small businesses, they may have not been introduced to this kind of thinking. They may not have set up the systems in their life to be able to, have a proper savings scenario. This can be a real life changer. And then that's where you start to go, wow, I'm actually building my financial future and my financial freedom why would you want to switch to another company if that wasn't present? Or if you're very happy with that, you can really see clearly that if you're transforming the life of your staff, that's going to make a massive difference and increasing the likelihood of reaching the vision of the business.
Absolutely.
I'd love to hear if you have any anecdotal stories about that, because I always love hearing good stories.
Well, I think when you ask anyone, like, what makes your company a great place to work? Like, what are the things you're going to list off? And it could be related to benefits. It could be related to the way you structure your schedule or something along those lines, or the perks that you offer. But my hope is that the retirement plan is somewhere on the list, or at least that we're somewhere on the list, because they found value in what we've talked about before. Maybe they just had a one-off conversation on budgeting, or maybe it's the owner saying, you're a trusted partner and we're glad that we don't have to think about this, that you keep us out of the ditches and you are looking around the corner to see what's happening next. So what makes your company a great place to work is always a good question to wrestle with, I think, both for where are we now and also where do we want to be? Where do we want to go?
Mm-hmm.
Anecdotally, I would say that smaller law firms we've had a really good success rate with as far as helping with the profitability part of things, because they tend to be profitable. And how do you fairly distribute those profits among their employees in a way that makes sense? Because people really do appreciate bonuses, right? That's money in their pocket today. But there's also the component of, well, we want to make sure that their future is taken care of too. So that's where the retirement plan comes in, is putting something there and helping have those conversations about how you balance out the compensation. Where does it go? How do you reward, the partners versus the paralegals, things like that. So that would be one anecdotal story. Maybe another would be this. It's a small firm that they work in manufacturing, and they have a larger subset of employees that are not part of this plan. They're part of a different plan. But the office staff takes such good care of trying to make sure that everybody is well taken care of and that they understand the plan. And so we did a whole series on just your basic financial planning. What does it mean to plan? What does financial planning mean? And that started first with just the concept of budgeting, which we never call it budgeting. We call it a spending plan, and really getting a handle on cash flow. And I'm sure your bookkeeping audience knows that there are some people who are really good at this and some people who are really not good at this. But being able to put different things out there, from the Dave Ramsey movement with the envelope system to, you were talking about Profit First a minute ago, and just helping connect with people in a way that affects their day-to-day spending and their day-to-day lives, that's really rewarding. But that's the easy answer for them when they say, why is this a great place to work? And they say, because they care about me all the way around. They don't just care about when I show up at work. They also care about me as a human being and making sure that I'm doing well.
That's lovely. So it's great to hear that. And, it can make a massive difference. And I love the concept. Yeah. Like what would people say about your business, about what makes it a great place to work? And then gives you an opportunity to actually start to build it better and make improvements around it. This is a big thing. And I love the idea of like financial literacy and educating people on a spending plan and how all that stuff works. And there's lots of information out there, but sometimes it's introducing something to somebody who doesn't even know that it exists, or that why would I even care? That's kind of the levels of learning. It's like completely in the dark to then stepping up and then getting to eventually to mastery. And that's the opportunity I think many business owners and businesses do have, that opportunity to bring their team into a different level of learning around finance, and bookkeepers are definitely right there with them.
Certainly.
If there was resources, what resources or help is out there to assist people in this conversation and starting to think about the planning for retirement?
Surprisingly enough, the IRS website is a great place to go. They
Oh
have
my
some very good
goodness.
articles.
Wow.
I know, who knew? They do have good articles if you're looking for just information on the different types of retirement plans that are out there. Of course, I'll direct you to our website as well. That's retirementplanology.com. And there is a section of resources on there, one that's built for smaller businesses and one that's built for larger businesses. So lots of appropriate links there that you can follow, and some videos and blogs.
Beautiful. I'd love to know if there are things that you've come across in your career that you think are just the very best um, places to start, or things that are mind blowing that our listeners should seek out and learn about.
Well, mind blowing is kind of a large one. Let's see. High standard there. Um, I would say, because your audience is involved in that blocking and tackling side of things with the operations and just overseeing where money is flowing in and out. One thing that is super important with any retirement plan that gets set up is that there is some way to link the system of the bank account and the accounting system or payroll system, preferably, and the retirement plan record keeper. If you can make all of that link electronically, then you have probably eliminated or got close to eliminating 75 to 80 to 90% of the errors that can happen. And also the amount of times you have to touch information or provide information for all of those things I was talking about before with the non-discrimination testing. If you can have that flow back and forth, that is like the biggest thing for a small business, because otherwise there's just so much manual entry and involvement that everyone's going to hate their retirement plan. So if you do have clients that are setting one up for the first time, start from who the payroll company links to, and you will be in such a better position than if it came in a different way. So that's one thing I think you should know.
Beautiful. I think that's great. And I think the real opportunity for our listener to be that consultant, that person that help, because that who else, right, is going to, because it's a huge component already. We're talking about the flow of money in your accounting system. That's their wheelhouse. And then helping owners understand the best technology to get that done. Now connecting that with the automatic control or distribution of the retirement plans. Have you heard of, or do you know of what stack that looks like, or where you've seen it work really well with? You may or may not know that, but I'd love to know if you did know. Obviously QBO is where people live. The market lives in the majority. There's various payroll platforms out there, and then there'd probably be payroll platforms that then work really well with making sure these
The record keepers,
distributions are happening.
QuickBooks always has a page of folks that they integrate with, and so that's where I would direct everybody to start. Same thing with Gusto or some of the other ADP, Paychex, those types of companies as well. Just asking the question of who are you integrating with these days, because they're always adding new integrations and technology availability. So I would take a look at that. There's also a couple of companies, 401 Connect is one of them, that can act as a bridge between a record keeper and a payroll system where maybe there isn't something automatically built there. So that could be something that clients would benefit from if they are completely disconnected, and maybe finding that third party that can link those two together. So I would start with those.
Very good. Very good. Well, this has been absolutely delightful, and what better way to plan your retirement than to actually start planning your retirement and helping your business do it, and take advantage of all of the tax savings and help your staff grow. And for our listener, doing that, but also being an advocate for this for the businesses that you work with. What better way to drive value than to make sure that they're aware of these things, that they know what our options are available, and then setting it up so that it all just works automatically, and they're growing and scaling, and they can focus on the things that they do best, which is running the business, not taking care of a retirement plan. Courtenay, love to hear if our listener you've already mentioned it, but if our listener wanted to learn more, get some resources from you and your organization, let us know the best way, or if there's a particular resource you want to direct them to, I'd love to hear that.
Sure. Yeah. Always happy to bounce ideas around, or, point you in the right direction if your clients have questions, or if you have questions. So it's retirementplanology.com/learn more. And that gets you to where you can book a call or just send a message. And also all the resources that we have on our website as well. So that's a great place. The other place would be LinkedIn. And I'm just at LinkedIn, C. Shipley. That's it.
Beautiful. Well, you now have great resources. You can connect with Courtenay if this comes up and get some direction and guidance. And Courtenay, I want to thank you for your generosity in coming on the show and sharing what you know about all of this retirement planning.
Oh, thanks for having me.
The pleasure is all ours, and we love having guests come and enlighten us. And this is one that we've never talked about on the show before, so it's been a pleasure. I've learned a few things, and certainly exciting.
Good deal.
And so with that, we wrap another episode of the Successful Bookkeeper Podcast. To learn more about today's wonderful guest, to get access to all sorts of valuable free business building resources, you can go to thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com. Until next time, goodbye. Oh, and by the way, do not forget, we have the summit coming up. It is in October 17th, 18th this year. You can register at thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com/summit. Love to see you there. We have an incredible lineup of speakers ready and willing to share what they know with you. So don't forget to get your free ticket. And if you are looking to treat yourself, upgrade to an all-access pass or a VIP pass, get the recordings, join in a special webinar that we're running with VIP that we do every year. It'll be a blast. And so again, we'll say goodbye and we'll see you at the summit, hopefully.
You've been listening to The Successful Bookkeeper with Michael Palmer. For more information and to download the resources mentioned in this episode, please visit us at thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com. Thank you for listening.